Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram,
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Hari Om, Anandashram.
Peace pilgrim, we told, no? Yesterday we said, yesterday we said that we would read a few portions from the book Peace Pilgrim. So she talks about love everywhere. By that she teaches us what is love. Perfect love is a willingness to give without a thought of receiving anything in return. When you have achieved that spiritual state, you will be in complete control of your mind as well as your body and your emotions. See, when we become one with when we become aware of the source from which we have come, which is still a concept in our mind, whatever we hear is only a concept in our mind. But in order to make it a reality, we are trying to understand how does it get expressed. So one word that makes us to think about is the love. And through that probably we may get some connections. Because ultimately it all zeroes to our source. When we become aware that all have come from one source, then what comes out is the pure love, divine love. So here she says, perfect love is a willingness to give without a thought of receiving anything in return. Kindly think about it. Perfect love is a willingness to give without a thought of receiving anything in return. When does it come to us? Mothers will be able to understand easily than us.
Yes, Swamiji. When children are young, we do for them without expecting.
As a mother to the child, is it not?
Yes.
Later on, we also get corrupted. No, we expect also. But during that mother-child relationship, what we find is there is nothing that is expected. So that means stretching myself to another person. That means absence of otherness. That means we become conscious, we become aware. You know? We become aware that we all come from the same source. This we have to keep on hammering. Especially those of us who are in daily vyavahara. Every time God will test us, put challenge to us. Perfect love is a willingness to give without a thought of receiving anything in return. When you have achieved that spiritual state, that means that is a spiritual state, the spiritual oneness, you will be in complete control of your mind as well as your body and emotions. Think about it, no? So immediately we think about how do we deal with men and matters, how do we develop the relationship with others. Whether it is with expectation, without expectation. Normally it is with expectation. So now an effort has to be made. When He has provided everything right from our seed level up to this level, is there anything for us to expect? We start thinking. We may fail, we may forget. But these are all the ways by which we try to understand first, so that from the conceptual level we move towards the actualization. Otherwise it becomes a theory, that's all. In one of the incidents, she says, we must have read them, many of you would have already known, but still we will repeat it, because that was the first incident that brought us nearer to her. Hari Om. Once I was hit by a disturbed teenage boy whom I had taken for a walk. He wanted to go hiking but was afraid he might break a leg and be left lying there. Everyone was afraid to go with him. He was a great big fellow, looked like a football player. He was known to be violent at times. He had once beaten his mother so badly that she had to spend several weeks in the hospital. Everybody was afraid of him, so I offered to go with him. Peace Pilgrim says. As we got up to the first hilltop, everything was going fine. Then a thunderstorm came along. He was very terrified because the thunder shower was very close. Suddenly he went off the beam, came for me, hitting at me. I did not run away, although I guess I could have. He had a heavy pack on his back. But even while he was hitting me, I could only feel the deepest compassion towards him. How terrible to be so psychologically sick that you would be able to hit a defenseless old woman. I bathed his hatred with love, even while he hit me. As a result, the hitting stopped. He said, "You did not hit back. Mother always hits back." The delayed reaction, because of his disturbance, had reached the good in him. Now is the touch, punch. Oh, it is there. No matter how deeply it is buried. What are a few bruises on my body in comparison with the transformation of a human life? He experienced remorse and complete self-condemnation. To make a long story short, he was never violent again. He is a useful person in the world today. There was no expectation, no. During any natural calamity, many of you might have heard when Bombay was in floods. Many people came forward everywhere, you can't even travel though by boat from flat to flat. And somebody prepared chapati, sabji, everything. And they were trying to reach out to many. They don't know the beneficiary. No? Even during the tsunami period, earthquake period, suddenly the divine element in us, it gets touched, kindled, and there is zero expectation. And we do it just like, we have seen with our own eyes how joyously they are doing. In Wayanad, 3-4 years back, there was floods. Many were rendered homeless. At that time, when an effort was made to give them kits, food items, basic dress items, all those things. But 2-3 people, he is from Dehradun, no? He doesn't even know Malayalam. He and his son or friend, he came. They don't only know Hindi. So when he knew that ashram is trying to do something, he said, "I will do all the packing." So he was sent to Wayanad. More than 1,000 kits. They handled it. And there was nothing, no sense of tiredness, fatigue, boredom, drudgery, nothing like that. Joyfully doing it. And it was distributed. So God is teaching us through those, ordinary people like all of us, without expectation. That means identifying ourselves with the afflicted, The bond, the bridge has been made. God causes this, God gives us an opportunity to feel for others. If the field is not given, how will I feel? Right from the moment we started feeling this sense of individuality, somehow this love was not explicit at all. If at all it came, it was in the form of attachment and therefore expectation. But then, in order that we all know that the good in him, she said, Peace Pilgrim, Oh, it is there. No matter how it is deeply buried. It is there in us. To touch and kindle, God provides us such, what do you call, fiends. This morning we were sharing with a friend. When we go to institutions who take care of the underprivileged or physically handicapped or blind people, blind children, we were sharing one experience. As soon as we go and start serving them, in Pune many years back, Shraddha was there at that time. So we went to a school where the children are totally blind. So a lot of sweets, so many things were there. So we, group of people went there, and then our devotees started distributing it as soon as the warden or the in charge called all the children to come and sit. But it was in a cover, no, wrapped up. They did not know how to open. No, they have not seen. This fact nobody understood. We start giving like that. But one devotee located this, and then immediately she went, took that sweet, removed that rib, and then gave. As soon as it was given, they were able to eat. We were watching this. First, initially everybody distributes, but one devotee looked at it. Oh, they may not be able to know where to open. And children, are excited when they are given sweets. They would like to immediately take. So that feeling, the excitement of a child should be known to me, then only I will be able to do it. Today when we talk about love, means without expectation. At the same time, concentrated, total care and concern, quality care and concern. These are all synonyms for our source, the origin. Another incident, a simple talk, Once a person said, I am surprised at the kind of person you are. After reading your very serious message on the way of peace, I expected you to be a very solemn person, but instead I find you bubbling over with joy. I said to him, who could know God and not be joyous? The moment you know you realize God, I cannot but be joyous. If you have a long face and a chip on your shoulder, if you are not radiant with joy and friendliness, if you are not filled to overflowing with love and goodwill for all beings and all creatures, one thing is certain, you do not know God. How in simple words she puts it, If you have a long face and a chip on your shoulder, if you are not radiant with joy and friendliness, if you are not filled to overflowing with love and goodwill for all beings and all creatures and all creation, one thing is certain, you do not know God. Also, life is like a mirror. Smile at it, it smiles back to you. I just put a big smile on my face, everyone smiles back. If you love people enough, they will respond lovingly. If I offend people, I blame myself. For I know that if my conduct had been correct, they would not have been offended, even though they did not agree with me. Before the tongue can speak, it must have lost the power to wound. Papa. Before the tongue can speak, It must have lost the power to wound. Let me tell you a time when my love had to be non-verbal. I was trying to help a lady who had been so seriously ill that she could no longer drive her car. She wanted to get to her older sister's house and a few weeks of bed rest, so I offered to drive her there. I still had my driver's license at that time. On the way, she said, "Please, I wish you could stay with me for a while. My older sister is so domineering. I just dread being alone with her." I said, "All right, I have a few extra days. I will stay with you for a little while." When we were turning into our sister's yard, she said, "Please, I really don't know how my older sister is going to accept you." She was quite right about her older sister. When her sister took one look at me with my lettered tunic, she ordered me out of the house. But it was late at night and she was afraid of the dark, that she said, "Not tonight, you may sleep on the sofa tonight, but the first thing in the morning you must leave." Then she hurried her younger sister off to bed way upstairs somewhere. Well, this was worse than I thought it might be. I certainly did not want to leave my friend in that situation, but what could I do? So I looked around to see if there was anything that might permit me to communicate with the older sister. You see the language, There is a communication gap between the older sister and Peace Pilgrim. She says, "So I looked around to see if there was anything that might permit me to communicate with the older sister. I looked into the kitchen. There was a mountain of dirty dishes and no dishwasher. So I washed all the dishes. Then I cleaned up the kitchen and lay down and slept for a few hours. In the morning, the older sister was in tears and she asked me to stay. She said, 'Of course you understand, I was so tired last night, I did not know what I was saying.' And we had a wonderful time together before I left them." You see, it just gave me the chance to put my little message into practice. Practice is good. Practice makes perfect, they say. There are so many such anecdotes. We are trying to pick up a few. And she says, "I love everyone I meet. How could I fail to? Within everyone is the spark of God. I am not concerned with racial or ethnic background or the color of the skin. All people look to me like shining lights. I see in all creatures the reflection of God. All people are my kinfolk. People to me are beautiful. We people of the world need to find ways to get to know one another. For then we will recognize that our likeness are so much greater than our differences. However great our differences may seem, every cell, every human being is of equal importance and has work to do in this world. When we know that God is our source, God is the seed from which we sprouted now as an individual. So we have not initiated this life. Please think, We have not initiated this life. So when God has initiated me with this life, does He not know the purpose for which He has given this? That we have forgotten now. When once we know that God has initiated my life, God has initiated every life also. Last line, it makes us to think. Every cell, every human being is of equal importance and has work to do in this world. Here is another facet, I remember a dear lady who was up in years. She was working so hard and always complaining. So hard. And she was always complaining, mumbling, grumbling. I finally said to her, why in the world do you need to work so hard when you have only yourself to support? She said, I have to pay rent on a 5-room house. A 5-room house, I replied. But you are alone in the world. Could you not live happily in one room? Oh yes, she said, but I have furniture for a 5-room house. She was actually working her fingers to the bone to provide a proper home for that furniture. And that happens all the time. Even now when we go, how difficult for us to get in and sit in our drawing room. Do we have any space? Think. Is it limited to a few furniture, or our drawing room is crowded with so many furniture? And she says, she was actually working her fingers to the bone to provide a proper home for that furniture. And that happens all the time. All I can say is, don't let it happen to you. Because of our preoccupation with materialism, we often miss the best thing in life, which are free. Air we breathe is free. Unnecessary possessions are unnecessary burdens. If you have them, you have to take care of them. Something about death. Death is a beautiful liberation into a freer life. The limiting clay garment, the body, is put aside. The self-centered nature goes with you to learn and grow on the disembodied side of life, and then returns here into a suitable clay garment and suitable circumstances to learn the lessons we need to learn. Could we but see a bit deeper into it, life, we would grieve at birth and rejoice at death. But if we but knew how short in the earth life in comparison with the whole, we would be less troubled with the difficulties of the earth life than we are troubled now with the difficulties of 1 or 4 days. Religion is not an end in itself. Our union with God is the ultimate goal. When we attempt to isolate another, we only isolate ourselves. When we attempt to isolate another, we only isolate ourselves. We are all God's children. and there are no favorites. God is revealed to all who seek. God speaks to all who will listen. Be still and know God. Do you know God? Do you know there is a power greater than ourselves which manifests itself within us as well as everywhere else in the universe? This I call God. Do you know what it is to know God? To have God's constant guidance, a constant awareness of God's presence? To know God is to reflect love towards all people and all creations. To know God is to feel peace within, a calmness, a serenity, an unshakableness which enables you to face any situation. To know God is to be so filled with joy that it bubbles over, goes forth to bless the world. I have only one desire now, to do God's will for me. There is no conflict. When God guides me to walk a pilgrimage, I do it gladly. When God guides me to do other things, I do them just as gladly. If what I do brings criticism upon me, I take it with head unbowed. If what I do brings me praise, I pass it immediately along to God, for I am only the instrument through which God does the work. When God guides me to do something, I am given strength, I am given supply, I am shown the way. I am given the words to speak. Whether the path is easy or hard, I walk in the light of God's love and peace and joy, and I turn to God with psalms of thanksgiving and praise. This it is to know God. And knowing God is not reserved for the great ones. It is for little folks like you and me. God is always seeking you, every one of you. You can find God if you will only seek, by obeying divine laws, by loving people, by relinquishing self-will, attachments, negative thoughts, feelings. And when you find God, it will be in the stillness. You will find God within. When I began my pilgrimage, I left the Los Angeles area without a cent, having faith that God would provide me with everything I needed. Although I have never asked for anything, God has provided me with everything along the way. Without ever asking for anything, I have been supplied. Without ever asking for anything, I have been supplied. I have faith that God will care for me and God does provide my needs. I did not in any way feel insecure because I don't know where I will sleep at night, where or when I will eat next. When you have spiritual security, you have no more feeling of need for material security. I don't know anybody who feels more secure than I do. And of course, people think I am the poorest of the poor. I know better. I am the richest of the rich. I have health, happiness and inner peace, things you couldn't buy if you were a billionaire. There is a spark of good in everybody. No matter how deep it may be buried, that is the real you. When I say you, what am I really thinking of? Am I thinking of the clay garment, the body? No. That is not the real you. Am I thinking of the self centered nature? No, that is not the real you. The real you is the divine spark. Some call this the God centered nature, others the divine nature and the kingdom of God within. Buddhists know it as nirvana. Hindus refer to it as the awakened soul. Quakers see it as the inner light. In other places, it is known as the Christ in you, the Christ consciousness, the hope of glory, or the indwelling spirit. Even if some psychologists have a name for it, the super consciousness, but it is the same thing, dressed in different words. The important thing to remember is that it dwells within you. That last word is very important. We all read. How many times we read in a day about Papa's words? Behold divinity in every aspect of this world, Leela. Verily, it is He at play in all beings and creatures. But when we read this, we are asking ourselves, important thing to remember is that He dwells within you. In my work, I have chosen the positive approach. I never think of myself as protesting against something, but rather as witnessing for harmonious living. Those who witness for present solutions, those who witness against usually do not. And here she defines beautifully. God is love. Yesterday we read, whenever you reach out in loving kindness, you are expressing God. God is truth. Whenever you seek truth, you are seeking God. God is beauty. Whenever you touch the beauty of a flower or a sunset, you are touching God. God is the intelligence that creates all, sustains all, binds all together, and gives life to all. Yes, God is the essence of all. So you are within God, God is within you. You could not be where God is not. Permeating all is the law of God, physical law, spiritual law. Disobey it, you feel unhappiness. You feel separated from God. Obey it, you feel harmony. You feel close to God. As you live in harmony with the divine law, you will feel closer to and develop more love for God. And somebody puts in another question about God. What is God? We lump together all things that are beyond the capacity of all of us collectively to understand. And one name we give to all those things together is God. Therefore, God is the creative force, the sustaining power, that which motivates towards constant change, the overall intelligence which governs the universe by physical and spiritual law, truth, love, goodness, kindness, beauty, the ever-present, all-pervading essence of spirit, which binds everything in the universe together and gives life to everything in the universe. Why are people unhappy? People are unhappy because they are out of harmony with God's will. Simple word, Because when He has initiated my life, He knows how should go. but I am not in harmony with that, so I feel sad. He may make me to go through so many things. He is the initiator, no? Is the goal of self-knowledge to know God? Answer. If you really know yourself, you will know you are a child of God, you will become aware of God. How can you get answers from within, from one's soul? Answer. When you say soul, you mean the divine nature, whereas some would mean the self-centered nature, some would mean both. Your divine nature, a drop of God, can be awakened when you touch a truth from outside so that it confirms the truth. Or the truth can come directly from inside. Have an inspirational time and fill your life with inspirational things to awaken your divine nature. That is why when we get in touch with a spiritual preceptor, when he says something, it touches and kindles. That is why Papa used to name Guru as an awakener. Not that he brings something to us. It is already there. I am not aware. He awakens me to that. He makes me to know of my inner content. Where did you learn meditation? I did not learn meditation. I just walked, receptive, silent, amid the beauty of nature, put the wonderful insight that came to me into practice. To her, that was meditation. Do you suggest to a seeker meditation or breathing exercises? She says, I suggest a time apart or a time alone with God. Walking in receptive silence amid the beauty of God's nature. From the beauty of nature, you get your inspiration. From the silent receptiveness, you get your meditation. From the walking, you get not only exercise, but breathing, all in one lovely experience. Can one's divine nature be awakened through meditation? She says, if you are really meditating, your body is so comfortable that you are not aware of it. Your emotions are serenely still. Your mind is at peace, waiting, not pushing. Now that you are receptive and silent, divine receiving can take place through your divine nature. It is very important that you put into practice insights that come to you. What is the Kundalini? She says, awakening of the Kundalini could originally have meant the awakening of the divine nature, but some I know use the word to mean plugging into the source of universal energy. Can you describe intuition? Real intuition is a spiritual receiving through the divine nature, but I realize that psychic receiving is sometimes referred to as intuition. Do you love humanity or people? She says, we are all of equal worth in the eyes of God. And to all I reach out constantly in thoughts, words and deeds, with the love and good wishes, with prayers. And however, people are the cells in the body of humanity. People are the cells in the body of humanity, and in doing my part in the divine plan, I come in contact with a few of these cells. When their lives touch mine, I am also willing and sometimes able to serve them. When I am with someone or in correspondence with someone, I concentrate my love and my good wishes on that particular cell. I am touching, and then with my prayers and blessings, I leave that cell in God's hands. This is it to love the people. Some love humanity without loving people. Some love people with loving humanity. I love both. In this, one thing we should do some manana. So when she does something, when she meets something, she says, I concentrate my love and good wishes on that particular cell. All of us are the cells of this cosmic body. Pah. Just like innumerable cells are there in our body, which constitutes the me now. Umpty number of cells. That Dr. Bhujanga Shetty said, trillions of cells are born and die each moment. She said, in 1 second. So like that, we are all cells. Nice to hear. How to practice, all of us, we have to learn this. When I concentrate my love and my good wishes to that particular cell, that particular person or object, and then with my prayers and blessings, I leave that cell in God's hands. This city is to love people. Is the goal of spiritual nature to free itself from the body or physical nature in order that it may see truth clearly? She says, the spiritual nature does see truth clearly. If you let it govern your life, you will see truth clearly. You might say that the spiritual nature is trying to free you from the self-centered nature, so you will become an entity living in harmony with divine purpose. Does God speak through you? In a sense, God speaks through everyone whose life is governed by God. When does illumination come? The time when you rise high, when you rise high enough in consciousness to look at things through the eyes of God-centered nature, that is always called the illumination experience. Did you experience a divine revelation? She says, I had a very strong inner motivation or calling to begin my pilgrimage, and I started out against the advice of all my friends. I chose myself to be a receiver of spiritual truth when I surrendered my will to God's will. You can do that too. We all have the same potential. God is revealed to all who seek. God speaks to all who will listen. When you surrender your will to God's will, you enter a very busy life and a very beautiful life. Is there a God who will always be beyond me? Answer. Think of God as a divine ocean and you as one drop with free will. You can choose to remain separate from the ocean, but you won't be happy. You can choose to be a part of the ocean, in which case you will give up your free will, but you will be delightfully happy, acting in harmony with God's will. Now you will perceive yourself as a part of God and very much at one with God. All this, spontaneously it comes means, think of God as a divine ocean.
It is very powerful, each sentence.
Think of God as a divine ocean and you as one drop with free will. You can choose to remain separate from the ocean, but you won't be happy. You can choose to be a part of the ocean, in which case you will give up your free will, but you will be delightfully happy, acting in harmony with God's will. Now you will perceive yourself as a part of God, very much at one with God. What is spiritual life? That which cannot be perceived by the five senses. Papa. Spiritual things will endure, physical things will not. That which cannot be perceived by the five senses. What is truth? Truth is that which is in harmony with the divine law. Truth is God, God is truth. My personal prayer is to make me an instrument through which only truth can speak. Where do I look to find spiritual truth? In the final analysis, you find spiritual truth through your own higher nature. Your higher nature is a drop in the ocean of God and has access to the ocean. Sometimes your higher nature is awakened through the inspiration of beautiful surroundings or beautiful music, bringing you insights of truth. Sometimes you see the truth written or hear the truth spoken. Your higher nature confirms it, or you directly perceive the truth from the inside through an awakening of the higher nature. I am so lonely, what can I do about? She says, you are never really alone. God is always with you. Turn to God for the best possible companionship. Turn to books and music for inspiration. Turn to phone to say a words of cheer to a shut-in or a visit one who is lonely. In giving we receive, and our loneliness fades away. Practical method. You are never really alone. God is always with you. Turn to God for the best possible companionship. Turn to books and music for inspiration. Turn to the phone to say words of cheer to a shut-in, or visit one who is lonely. In giving, we receive, and our loneliness fades away. How do you keep so healthy and happy? She was walking 25,000 miles in the United States. And the photograph will reveal how cheerful she has been, though an old woman. So how do you keep so healthy? She says, I keep so healthy and happy by always keeping turned to God. That means I obey to God's spiritual laws. I live to be of service. I think of no negative thoughts. That means I obey God's physical laws. Those things I know are bad for the health, I do not do. Those things I know are good for the health, I do. My reward has been good health and happy state of mind. She was an 100% vegetarian. So the question was asked, why are you a vegetarian? How can you be sure you are consistent? As to my vegetarianism, I do the best I can. I have never refrained from doing something I believed was right because I could not do it perfectly. I do not believe it is right for me to ask someone else to do my dirty work for me. I would not kill a creature, and I would not ask someone else to kill it for me. So I will not eat the flesh of the creature. Simple. I would not kill a creature. I would not ask someone else to kill it for me. So I will not eat the flesh of the creature. Why does God exist? She answered, simple. God is the life force, without which the universe would not exist. God is expressed throughout the physical and spiritual universe. God is the life force. What is one's relationship to God? You can establish a relationship with God by bringing your life into harmony with God's laws, which are the same for all of us, and by finding and fitting into your part in the divine plan, which is unique for every human soul. Are you an avatar? A divine incarnation? I am a pilgrim for peace, inner peace and outer peace. I walk in prayer for peace. I try to inspire others to pray and work for peace also. I would gladly be a server, one who returns again and again to help people towards a more spiritual life. What is it like to communicate with God? Communication with God is a deeper inner knowing that God is within you and around you. God speaks through the still small voice within. This is the exact word Gandhiji has used. Exact word. The still small voice. Communication with God is a deeper inner knowing that God is within you and around you. God speaks through the still small voice within. Would you describe spiritual evolution? Spiritual evolution takes place in your life as you live in harmony with the divine purpose, obeying divine laws, which are the same for all of us, and doing your unique job in the divine plan. Every time this is hammered, doing your unique job in the divine plan. So it's a wonderful book. Many of you might have seen. It contains, the practical clues. When Papa says spirituality that cannot be applied in actual life, she also, like Papa, does not talk any tall philosophies. She plunged into the life with awareness that God is behind everything. God is the initiator. From God we came, on God we exist, into God we go. So that was very clear to her. And then, based upon that, she did not sit in a place withdrawing from all activities. She was very much with the world and continuing to live as an individual. She is now placing before us how an individual, when it gets evolved to a higher level, can maintain the higher consciousness and as well as living an ordinary life. Very much with all of us. Because when she walks, she is very much with us. Just like when Papa's experience as chronicled in Quest of God, he did not retire to the cave, He was very much with the different types of lives, so that how he can blend, harmonize with every type of life, every type of situation, every type of objects. Just think. So these things will give us more and more clarity as to how to put this spirituality in day-to-day life. For all that, one should get stabilized in that God consciousness. You have to think about it. Every word, every definition. Deep thinking. reflection, contemplation. Tomorrow we will read the first portion, how she felt the calling, Tomorrow is our Puja Swamiji's 15th Mahasamadhi day. When we are reading all these things, we remember the inspiring life of saints who not only preached, in Swamiji's case, he seldom preached. He was a silent sage. But he spoke eloquently in silence. So we try, when we are observing the Samadhi day, that is an occasion for us to intensely remember about his inspiring life. Otherwise it is like any ordinary day.
Swamiji? He used to make others silent too. நம்மளுக்கே தெரியாம ஆயிடுச்சு சுவாமி.
Correct. So tomorrow when we say Swamiji's, what is it that we are going to derive from it? Each one has to ask this question. Not to simply acknowledge his qualities, They don't need our certificate. But God chose them to place before us so that we can imbibe something of it. Each one is unique. Nobody can follow anybody. But there are some subtle elements through which we get connected to him. We know many of the things that he lived, we cannot do it. But there is a subtle connection between us and him. We are trying to find out what is the subtle connection. Not that we are trying to follow him. Please underline this word. Nobody can follow another. That is the blunt truth. But we are trying to find out what is it that connects me to him. That is the real purpose of observing important days. Then it gets kindled in us, Rather than objectifying, The moment we say something in them, he is an object. But actually it is not so. Through many of the, like Peace Pilgrim we were reading, we get connected to them. So we are now trying to find out what is it that has connected us to. So tomorrow, whole day we have got. We will try to find out, not for anybody, we are not going to tell anybody. But all of us have this tapas tomorrow. Silently we are trying to understand what is it that has connected me to him. There should be two things, and the fusion takes place. That is why we connected towards him. I came as an individual, he also came as an individual. But at one point of time, God chose to meet us, and then the fusion took place. What is that fusion? When we delve deeper into it, what we get the experience is something thrilling. So tomorrow we will try that. Every day we have to try. Tomorrow is a day exclusively set apart for that. That is why we say tomorrow is the Mahasamadhi day. Because they don't need any Samadhi day, Jayanti day, Sannyas day. Under some pretext we are trying to remember what has made us to connect ourselves with him. What is it that he has touched and kindled in us? So again, please, the moment we express it, it becomes objectified. It doesn't serve purpose, it has not served any purpose. We have not become Prema Swarup, He was a Premasuru, but we have not become. We have only appreciated. So what is it that has made us to? Something deeper in us. That is why it is past words, no? It is past expression. It is an inner union. The blending of something from here and something from there. Let us all try tomorrow. Right from this moment we will try. Our natural tendency is to glorify them. But we now know that we have been glorifying, but the glorifying point has not entered into me. We were satisfied with glorifying. But later on when I sit quiet, I find it has not entered into me. So it is just going at the superficial level. So I now want, what is it that made me to glorify him? That is the inner journey by which we know how the fusion has taken place. And it applies to all saints with whom God made us to get in touch with. So tomorrow, in our own way, we pray to the indwelling reality. You have given us one more chance to observe the Mahasamadhi day of our dearest Pujya Swamiji, who dropped the body 15 years ago. The moment we think about him, so many such noble thoughts well up in my mind. It should not just evaporate, just like that. After tomorrow, when we stop talking about him, again we are back to square one. It should not happen. The purpose of it is that I keep on finding out that point, that principle, which has made me to glorify. The moment I get a glimpse of that, the purpose of observing that Samadhi day is served. So with that prayer, we will try to understand the element that touched and kindled both us and him. Of course, outwardly we glorify him. It is not a mistake. It gives us some emotional satisfaction also. But we should not stop with that. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om. Hari Om, Hari Om, Namaskaram. Hari Om, Hari Om. Pranam, Swamiji. Pranam, Pranam. Namaste.